The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Hi, and welcome to Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. Politically Speaking is an opportunity for you to hear conversation with our political leaders here in the Owen Sound and Meaford and northern part of Grey County, and a few others. So I want to welcome today Mayor Ian Boddy of the City of Owen Sound. Ian, welcome. Good to have you back again.
Oh, good afternoon, or I guess by the time this broadcast, good evening. I guess we'll be Thursday night, won't we?
That's right. We always have to remember this gets pre-taped, so it's always an interesting exercise. That's for sure. Well, Ian, it has been an eventful couple of weeks, or since we last talked. I'm absolutely astonished both how time flies and how many things can kind of pop up on a city agenda so quickly. It must be very exciting being the mayor of the city at times.
Yes, there's always something coming at us, of course, and sometimes we predict it and sometimes we don't. And, this COVID stuff has been so hard on everybody. And frankly, we're community members. We're people that live in the community. Our family lives in the community. And we're all feeling the effects. And unfortunately, as mayor, we feel some of the arrows that get slung our way for things that we had nothing to do with. But that's part of the frustration. And we understand that people are disappointed with this third wave. But otherwise, we're trying to continue at City Hall to do things. We are locked down, of course, so you can't go into the building. Staff is working from home. But we're trying to get things done like we would have, and with this third shot at working from home, we're starting to perfect it, I guess, as a lot of people are.
Well, the upcoming council meeting, which will be on the Monday following this broadcast, will not be in person, will it?
No, April 19th is our next council meeting, and there'll be back to three of us in the room. Staff reporting from their desk and the rest of council working from home.
And this will be the first trial of the new, not of the council meetings, but of all the pieces put together after the audiovisual upgrade in City Hall, will it not?
I guess it will be the first time that we've done it as a council. We've been using it as a committee. We had a operations committee meeting last night that people were participating from home, and I think it worked okay. We'll see. It's never going to be perfect, so that's, I guess, to be expected.
I think it's also fair to say to mention that if people want to see and watch committee meetings on their computer, that they can do so by going to the City Hall website and going to, I think it's Agenda and Minutes, and there's a calendar there, and you click on it, and you can either watch the meeting itself, or afterwards you can watch a video of it, which I think is always quite interesting.
Yeah, we didn't used to film the committee meetings, and now we've got the ability to. And of course, with COVID, people that are interested can't come and sit in. So they can sit in and at home and watch and follow along, some of the decisions, some of the discussion. And frankly, committee meetings tend to be a little more fun, maybe because I'm not chairing them, but we tend to be able to be a little more relaxed and have a little more of a conversation, and sometimes often we'll get a lot further deeper into the conversation or into the issue at a committee meeting.
Yes, I was looking at the agenda for the Operations Committee as an example, and I noticed that some of the questions were perhaps pretty deep dives into issues that will eventually come before City Council and are often, well, how shall I say it, direct with the staff is not presenting a report, but all of a sudden, oh, okay, that's something that we need to look at. So it's a different kind of, as you say, more conversational meeting than a more formal city council is.
Well, and that's why we have those committees. Operations is our heavy one. That's water, wastewater, garbage busing, works department. I'm trying to think of what else comes through that. Airport comes through that committee. So, we tend to get we do get reports there, and that's where we can dig into them. Some of the water and wastewater reports, as you can imagine, are very technical. They have to be precise, especially after Walkerton. The way water is treated, the way it's untreated, everything about it is pretty important. So those reports tend to take a little bit of time because the engineers have to slow down for the rest of us to understand the detail. And I got to tell you, it was a lot of years sitting on that. I started in operations 2 years before I ever went in council, so started in about 2008. It took me a few years from the annual reports to come to really start to understand what they mean and start to see the trends and know that we continue to be in good shape and know exactly what staff are trying to do year by year with a somewhat of a limited budget. People are always upset when they have to pay their taxes, but it still is a limited budget to try and make major repairs on our infrastructure. Matt Prentice, our head engineer of the water system, used to like to make the quote that some of our water pipes were installed by people that had a fond memory of Confederation. And you laugh at that and think it's kind of a joke, but some of our piping under the ground is awfully old, and little by little we're replacing it. We've replaced lead pipes, for example. It's the pipes that get that water to your tap that you turn on. The water's cheap. We've got a bay full of it. It's the infrastructure to treat it, pump it, and get it to your door that is the expensive part, and constantly needs upgrading. And it was left behind for a lot of years, so we're trying to catch up.
And the converse is true. Once you have used the water or made use of the water, it has to be taken away. It has to be cleaned. It has to be almost put back in the same condition or better than it was when it was taken out of the bay.
Yeah, both water and wastewater were installed in the 60s originally. They've been upgraded. Obviously, we had the $48 million upgrade a few years ago for the wastewater. They're both designed for somewhere around 45,000, a population of about 45,000. So they're really set for growth and have been for quite a while. That secondary treatment upgrade a couple of years ago was a major project, and you probably saw pictures that it was very murky when it used to be released with sediment in it, and now it's a lot more clear and goes out a lot cleaner. And so it's quite a system, and we're rather pleased that we can put really clean water back into the bay after we take out clean water.
Very much so. Very much so. I noticed that this week there was a press release from the city reminding us, not asking us, reminding us not to flush baby wipes down the toilet. That's a bit of a problem because those allegedly flushable wipes are not. And if you've ever seen the videos which are out there of what happens in larger cities, they really do plug the pipes up. And this is we're no different here.
Yeah, they expand, they clog, they get they hook on things, and it is a problem. Funny story, back when we had a jail on the people that were residents incarcerated used to wear these orange overalls, one piece. We actually had one of those that somehow got flushed down a toilet with a plan to plug the jail, I'm sure, to cause problems. And it actually came through at the wastewater treatment plant. It made it all the way through. But can you imagine the mess that would have caused if it got caught in between?
Oh, goodness, yes. I mean, we talk about the age of the jail, but I'm sure the pipes are older, and that would have been a huge mess. But hey, that's one escape or one problem that was averted, I guess.
Yes.
Well, it's an ongoing how shall I say it, issue within any city. Doesn't matter whether it's Owen Sound or Toronto or Hamilton. Water everywhere, and we've got to drink it and use it. So and conserve it to the best of our abilities. So I guess that's where things are. But this is the operations committee is the place where this stuff is discussed. One of the things that I'm sure is on people's minds these days, because we are now in the third lockdown again, that we have to kind of suck it up and keep going, is there has been, I'll be perfectly frank, Ian, there has been some criticism of public health in the media and around in the community. And the Grey County had a very interesting response to the criticism, expressing support for Dr. Ara. Would you care to comment on that?
Well, yeah, we're all frustrated, we're angry, we want everything to end, and we want our vaccines now, etc. But let's not stop to remember, or let's not forget that we are in the middle of a world pandemic. We've had sicknesses. We did fairly well, but we've had sicknesses, we've had deaths, and it's important. The Doctor of Public Health and the health unit staff are there to protect us, to try and keep Grey Bruce communities healthy and safe. And they've been doing a great job. And they're looking out for our best interest, yours and mine, everybody's. And we need to let them focus on their job. So criticism in the middle of this is, I think, poorly timed and a little misdirected. The actions of a very few people have caused a lot of noise, and frankly, they're acting in their own self-interest to undermine the public confidence, and they have undermined the public confidence of the institution that we need there to protect us. A lot of the health staff, they've been working hard for a year. They've been working under a lot of pressure for a year. They're human beings, they're our neighbors, they're our family members, and they're people that are working for a living just like the rest of us, and they're taking home a heck of a lot of stress. They're all tired and keep going. A lot of them are out of the health unit building right now trying to keep the vaccine clinics going throughout Grey and Bruce. And so other people that are more in administration have been moving over and trying to answer the telephones and filling those roles. We received a note last night that they're starting to receive very nasty and disrespectful and even threatening phone calls. These workers need our respect, and I encourage everyone to be polite to them when they do call them. Certainly vaccines are underway. I didn't think I would see a vaccine until the fall of 2021 when they first started to talk about it. It was going to take a while for them to get out. And, many of us are going to see vaccines. A lot of vaccines have been put in arms already. Many are going to see the vaccines coming to them at whatever age in the coming weeks or months. So, before summer, long before the fall and late fall of 2022. So we're really ahead of where we expected to be a year ago, or most of us were. So we can't all get in at once. They're putting vaccines into arms as quickly as they can get them. They're moving around. Yeah, you might have to drive to Hanover or other places. And I've talked to so many people that have gone from Owen Sound to Hanover and other places, and they're happy to do it. They're amazed with the treatment that they're getting there. But I think we all need to be patient and show some respect, because we will get vaccinated. And further on that, with this third wave, which seems to be worse here than ever, we're also worried about these variants that seem to come on more aggressively, seem to do more damage. If you're watching the national news every night, there is a gloom story on the damage that's being done by them. we've dropped our guard hoping that we were going to get through this and that with vaccines we'd get there sooner, and we haven't. So we can't be dropping our guards. It's only harming ourselves as citizens of Graham Bruce. It's clear that the case numbers are the highest numbers we've seen. When you're going out and being lax, not worrying about masks, not washing your hands, not doing those things, sort of trying to ignore the health unit as they're trying to look after us, you're risking your family members. It might be your mother, it might be your grandmother, might be your friend's grandmother, somebody that's looked after you for years, and you start thinking about those people getting sick, and you don't want to do that to each other. So I really encourage everyone to really let's tighten it up, work together, and protect each other and get those case numbers down. Don't do it for me. You can criticize me all you want. I don't care. Do it for yourself. Do it for your family members. That's who we need to look after, each other. So I really encourage everyone to be respectful of staff, be patient, but try and be really disciplined in looking after yourselves and your family during this period of time.
Ian, you make some very, very good points there. I did get my vaccination, my first shot last week in Hanover at that great big hockey hub clinic that was held. And you're right about the staff working sort of outside of their parameters and outside of their normal positions. The nurse who came rolling by, literally rolling by, because that's how they do it. The nurses and those who are doing the injections come to you. You don't go to them. Was actually a case manager at the health unit, and she normally works in Owen Sound, but had been called on to do this because as a nurse she could do injections, and it was quite fascinating. I had a great chat with her. I also noticed that a lot of people were taking the opportunity to respectfully, with distance, say hi to people they hadn't seen in a long time. And it was actually quite heartwarming. So if people have the opportunity to go to get the injection at one of the clinics, do so. You never know who you're going to see there. Hey, you might even see the mayor.
At some point, I haven't been yet. I'll wait for my turn. So getting back to our county council motion, it was passed unanimously. So all council supported it for Dr. Era and the health unit. Again, we're in the middle of a pandemic. David, you used to sit in the health unit. When you're on an independent board, you have more information than anyone. And when misinformation and innuendo and half-truths get spread through the community, it undermines, the confidence of the workers of the health unit that are busting their behinds for us. And then people start to disrespect the rules, and it has the potential to become a health risk and risk lives and health for all of us. So that was why we passed it. We know that something went on at the city council meeting, on Sound, the last council meeting, and I've certainly taken a lot of criticism, but I know that I did the right thing. And so just let me cover a couple of things. We have to live by the rules and the laws of the Municipal Act, of our rules of procedure, of our bylaws. And, within the Municipal Act, the role of council is to represent the public, to consider the well-being and interests of the municipality. The municipality isn't everybody, it isn't everything. The municipality is the operations of the city. We represent the public to oversee the operations of the city of Owen Sound. So it's what we budget for the city of Owen Sound, what we collect taxes for that budget, what we approve to be done with that budget, staff. Now, we don't direct staff ourselves. We only have one employee being the city manager. Everyone else is his staff. But we approve the implementation of the plans and of the directives that go to staff that they carry out. And it may be contractors. So we ensure that administrative policies, practices, procedures, and controlship policies are in place to implement the decisions of council. We ensure the accountability and transparency of the operations of the municipality, not everything else, including the activities of senior management of the municipality. We maintain the financial integrity of the municipality, and we carry out duties of council under this or any other act. So just going to jump from there to under the Municipal Act, there's a heading called Accountability and Transparency. So this is accountability for the City of Owen Sound, for council for the City of Owen Sound. So in that, under accountability and transparency at section 223.1, it sets out that a local board means a board other than a Board of Health as defined under the Health and Promotions Act, and interestingly enough, Police Services Board. So Police Services Board and Health Board set up under the Health and Promotions Act are not accountable to the City of Owen Sound at all. We've got no authority to direct them, to ask for information. None of the Owen Sound budget goes to the Health Board. And really, under that definition, the Health Board really isn't accountable, in a sense, to any municipality, either upper or lower. At Grey County, we do appoint some members to the Health Board. Bruce County does. There's also members that are appointed by the provincial government. The county and the city, both counties, do not oversee the business of the health unit. They're its own independently appointed board, and they have the duty to oversee it. And again, that health board knows what's going on. Their hands are tied in some of these criticisms about HR. They can't respond, or else they could be breaching confidentiality, etc., about an employer, a former employee. Every lawyer knows that their hands are tied. So taking a poke at them with one hand tied behind their back is, when you know they can't reply, is like, it's like beating up somebody with one arm behind their back. There's got to be some fairness there. So, under the Ontario Ministry of Health website, it states that each health unit is governed by a board, which is an autonomous corporation, autonomous being on their own, under the Health Protections and Promotions Act, and they are administered by the medical officer of health, who reports to the local health board. So the city has no authority to stick their nose into it, and number one. And number two, we're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, and those people need to be able to focus on doing their jobs and not wonder what's coming next. So that is why we passed that at the county, where we do get a report from the health board, basically for information purposes, that we want the health board to be able to act in their role and do what's required of them. Just to go a little bit further, going back to that Municipal Act, under 225, the role of head of council, which is mayor, is to preside over council meetings so that its business, not everyone else's business, but its business, the business of the municipality of council, can be carried out efficiently and effectively, and without limitation, to provide information and recommendation to council respecting the role of council described in where we talked about the administrative policies before, and implementing the decisions of council, and accountability and transparency. So it's my role to lead council on the things that we're responsible for, not the things we're not responsible for. And the other role, of course, is to carry out the duties of head of council under, official functions and for communication. So I do note between the council role and the role of the head of council that no individual councillor has authority to rely on their position as councillor to speak on behalf of council, or to use that position to bully others, or to demand information from other persons, boards, or agencies. And of course, the end never justifies the means, as much as all of us would like to from time to time. So just going a little further in that, Owen Sound Council had training at the start of the session that, one of the things it sets out is the role of councillors. It sets out our procedural policies, our code of conduct. That was done out at Grey Roots with all of the councillors from Grey County. And naturally, no organization can function if we start to ignore the rules of procedure and code of conduct. It becomes a mess. This council was updated our procedure. We updated our procedural policy during this term, like only a year ago. It was supported by all of council. We supported the procedural policy, that it was the right thing to do, that it had the right things in it, and we all agreed to that. We've had a special council meeting before Christmas. There was a training session, a closed session. I'm going to say it was November. There was no snow on the ground, so sometime in the fall. Again, we discussed the role of council members in all procedures, and we all left there thinking that we understood it. Unfortunately, at our next council meeting next Monday on April 19th, council will receive a report from our integrity commissioners with regard to past conduct of one of our councillors, and by the time this presentation, this interview airs, it will be out in the agenda, and it's the past conduct of Councillor Tamming. We've witnessed similar conduct over the past few weeks with regard to the health unit that really is going to come up in that integrity commissioner's report. I really want to ensure to the public, as we've gone through the last couple of weeks, and as we go through the next couple of weeks with not really knowing who's going to say what to the media and what media will publish it, to be quite frank. We have a very good council. We have a very good council. We have people that care about this community. Majority of us work together to represent the community, to make the best decisions we can on the issues that we are responsible for. The majority of us respect each other, respect each other's various personalities, experiences, and opinions on issues. Sometimes we'll spark, sometimes we'll say things that will respond to what someone else has said, and then we try and work our butts off to make it better, to not do it again, to try and change how we behave. And that's a lot of what this training has been about. We want, all of us, we want to give our community confidence in council and the administration staff of the City of Owen Sound. I'm very confident that the majority of council will continue to follow the proper laws and procedures and to focus on what we can affect. I know from talking to most other councillors that we all feel the same way. We have seen things and have tried to make our council move ahead as best we can, knowing there's always undercurrents and there's backstories and there's emails that we're seeing that don't necessarily go in the order, into staff and to various people that aren't within our authority and aren't the way that we would all like to act. And I'm really thankful for the majority of my council, of our council, our city council, the people that I get to work with, that we have continued to focus on what's important, and that's the city business, and try and keep moving that ahead. It's unfortunate these things are coming out in some ways, but for some of us, it's the relief that they're coming out.
Well, Ian, what we're going to do now is allow people to kind of think about that, because we're going to take a break and we're not finished. You and I have a lot more to talk about. So I'm David Shearman. This is Politically Speaking. We'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
My mother said we had to leave home. The communists were going to take my father away. If my parents were afraid, they didn't show us. But we would never forget our escape from Vietnam. We were lost.
What was your job in Vietnam?
University professor.
We had no home.
Do you have any family in Canada?
No, sir.
Nobody wanted us.
Welcome to Canada.
Canada chose us.
Canadians opened their borders, their homes, and their hearts to more than 100,000 refugees fleeing persecution after the Vietnam War.
We were home.
The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm David Shearman. Welcome back to Politically Speaking. My guest is Mayor Ian Boddy of the city of Owen Sound. And Ian, welcome back.
Well, let's get back to talking about the stuff that matters.
Absolutely.
City business.
Well, let's talk about what really matters, and that is the beavers at Kelso Park. I mean, the pictures I think many of us have seen on Facebook or other social media, and they've really done a number on the trees at Kelso Park, including some of the memorial trees. Is there a plan in place to deal with the beavers?
Yes, there is. Not only have they, Kelso is probably the worst hit, but across the other side of the river, just north of the Bayshore Community Center, has got some teeth marks in trees there too. Staff brought in a professional, appropriate trapper in the fall that moved the beaver, and they think most of this damage was done last fall, in late fall, early winter. But they're monitoring it to see if it does come back, and we'll move it again. Certainly, once park staff get back on again, COVID shut down. Spring crew aren't in just yet anyway. We'll start to work on replanting trees, cleaning that up, cleaning up that area. We've put quite a bit of money over the last end of last year into shoring up the water damage, et cetera, on the shoreline of Kelso. And so we'll get back and look after those trees that need to be looked after for sure.
Well, that's great to hear, because I know Kelso is one of the gems of the city, and it's a very important place for people to gather when we can gather with things like Summerfolk. And I believe the Owen Sound Little Theater is planning some plays in the park, which since they can't use their theater, they've got to be innovative, and they're hoping to use the Kelso as a venue for plays this summer. So let's hope that with vaccinations and everything, we'll be able to get out and see them.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really neat project for them to go into the park and be outdoors. And, perhaps if people that haven't come through the door of the Roxy aren't sure they're going to like theater, to go out outdoors and get a sample of it, and, bring friends that maybe have never seen live theater and get a taste of it. So I think it's going to work really well. It should be fun.
I have friends in New York where this is not an uncommon thing to happen. The theater in Central Park and some other parks down there, and their recommendation is wear bug spray. Yeah. There's cheering for the performance, and then there's cheering for the performance. Absolutely. And you don't want to be subject to all those little gate crashers that'll show up. Let's shift things to a little more high level here and talk about the strategic plan. That is something that is ongoing. We're coming to the close of that comment period and the final revision for the strategic plan. Where are things actually at the present time, Ian? Well, to back up, we started in just after the election of 2014, working on the strategic plan that was to get us through to 2020, and here we are.
We had a change of city manager, and halfway through the term, it does make sense to go full bore strategic plan. So Tim Simmons and staff members, Carly MacArthur and it'll hit me in a minute. I have been working very hard on just updating the strategic plan. So they went to all the committees and have gone to public for feedback and are updating it with different pillars and different strategies and to try and bring it up to date and get us through the next couple of years until we can go back to a much more robust strategic plan. So they've written it up. Michelle Palmer, that's the other name that I'd forgotten, that is our head of purchasing that has gone sideways to be able to work in this specifically for the next little while. They've done a great job. So it's been presented to committees for feedback, and we'll have some updates at, it was aimed for April. We'll see to try and get it back to council for a review. But it's good updating and rethinking, beefing up things like environmental climate change, that a lot of the things that were on the work plan before have been done. So we want to update those and add more things, and certainly some growth plan stuff, and lots of little things to keep us moving forward.
The interesting thing is that, and when you lay the old plan side by side with what is proposed, you can see how community attitudes have changed. You referenced climate change, and there is much bigger reference to climate change in the environment in the new strategic plan, or at least there has been more input on it, which I think is really interesting. As well as I believe there was some more asking for more specificity around goals and objectives. So it's not just sort of out there. It has a little more solid core to it. So it should be interesting to see how what this I guess dare I use the word final draft actually looks like.
Some of those things more specific can be hard to set out, as you say, because things are changing so quickly. And, going back to 2014, as we sat around the table, climate change actually, environmental things came up, but climate change didn't really come up, even from the public, as an issue at all. And it was the consultant who helped us with that really pushed that. And we agreed, we understood it, but it was almost vague at the time. It was interesting. And so much has changed in those 3 or 4 or 5 years that it now is a very much a front issue. Grey County is doing a plan with expert climate change experts, people that are trained and educated in this. And it will be a plan that will be applicable to all lower tiers, and will have a public component to it that we will certainly adopt and work with and add to, and do what we can off of that. So that's ongoing at the county level, and it made more sense that, first of all, we got grants at the county level, and it made more sense for all of us to work together on that, since it affects all of us, and will give us a more robust plan probably than we could afford if we tried to go it alone. And interestingly, without waiting for that climate change plan to come, we've bought a couple of electric vehicles for the city. So much of what we do at the city, of course, is big equipment, plows, loaders and things that the technology isn't there yet. Even pickup trucks running around are a little more challenging at this point. We aren't quite there yet. But for vehicles for building inspectors to go out, or bylaw enforcement, or people like that are going out in a regular vehicle, it's nice to be able to move ahead and get those electric vehicles. And I think there's probably going to be fuel savings in the long run for the city. But more importantly, there's going to be environmental impact, just one little car at a time, but trying to do what we can until we can get to that point that that pickup trucks are there and that heavy equipment is there. I suspect from my meeting with the Hydrogen Optimized a few weeks ago, as they suggested, the equipment that's running on diesel now is more likely to be hydrogen, those big trucks and heavy equipment, and those that are running on gasoline now is more likely to be battery and gas. And I found that interesting when he said it. But anyway, we're pretty pleased to get those 2 electric vehicles and starting our way. Of course, the next thing is we need to have some plug-ins installed around the city on city property for electric vehicles and help attract even that's part of the tourism attraction. So we're chipping away at that.
It's interesting because often provincial enforcement, as the vehicles say, or bylaw enforcement, or chief building officer, usually have in the past, I know, received hand-me-down police vehicles, and that's kind of okay. These folks need something a little more reliable than a clapped-out police car, which has all kinds of other issues with it, maybe.
Well, the bylaw enforcement officers don't need a pen in the back seat, or even a big back seat, because they're not going to load people into it the same way as a police car would. So this, for their use, it makes more sense.
Sure. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the city lets out a tender, how does the tender? Let me phrase this another way. How does the tendering process work? Because I think there's a lot of confusion around that.
Well, we run into this from time to time. Under laws, trade laws with other countries, trade laws between provinces, we cannot designate a specific buyer. There was a case a few years ago in Hamilton Wentworth, down there somewhere, where a winning bid was not hired in order to hire a contracting company that was local. The court forced the municipality to pay full price for the bid that should have won. And again, I'll go back to that. They should have won the full price, as well as they had gone ahead and contracted with the local company that got the work that had to do. So it cost them twice as much. There is 2 different purchasing systems. One is tendering, so we want a specific electric car, period. Give us your best vehicle, your best price. And so it is based on price, and away we go. There is also the request for proposal, so RFP, that might be on engineering of how would you do this? What's your proposal to complete this? What's the price? Then we're into a scoring system on maybe what the company's experience is, what the price is, what their recommended procedure is. And that's a procedure of RFPs. Neither of them can have a local only component. It's not legal. We don't get to do it. We'd love to be able to do it in some ways. There is one example for that, something like plumbing, that if we had a broken pipe, we don't want to have to get the plumber to come from Oxbridge or Toronto for the cheapest price, because we need it done now. And there's certain things like that. But to buy things, engineering, vehicles, anything like that, we have to follow the laws, which means it has to be open for anyone to bid. Further to that, everyone complains about their taxes being so high, and then they complain that we don't, that we should be paying more even if it's local. So we're caught between trying to protect the taxpayer and getting the best possible price we can on anything that we buy, and protect, the tax increases, versus buying local. And a local person, and I've had it, and I know it's true, I've been in business, you'll get, gee, I can't even buy that product for the price that you're paying for it, so how do I compete? And that's unfortunate, but we can't possibly start putting a local, well, legally we're not allowed to, but we would run into other problems if we weren't allowed to start paying more because it's local and watching our budget go up because of it. So it is unfortunate. It is something that's frustrating. It's usually new councillors that get frustrated finding that out. And certainly business people in the community that would love to get an upper hand and love to see us buying local. It isn't just as easy as of choosing to buy local and going. It's lost set far beyond our abilities.
Speaking of tendered projects, Ian, we're just now coming to the end, finally, of the 10th Street Bridge project with all the final road remarking that is going on as we speak.
Yeah, the goal in December, of course, was to get it open as soon as possible, and especially the Christmas business season downtown, we wanted to get it open. So there is some work around the bridge itself that still had to be completed, railings and things. We couldn't really go out and change the detours without paving the road. You can't pave them when they're repaint them, when it's salty, cold, and wet. So we've had to wait for the change of seasons to be able to change the paint in the roads, put some of those parking meters back in downtown, and change around the detours around. So it's being done as we talk. Saw the engineers out yesterday marking where the parking will go back on Ninth Street across from Tim Hortons downtown and the next block. So little by little we'll get back to normal.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things that we've survived, dare I say it, kind of like COVID. It's taken a long time, but the Gitchin and Wikwudong Bridge is wonderful. It's nice and wide, and it certainly works for traffic. But the official dedication is coming up in June, isn't it? The 21st, I believe.
June 21st is June 21st. Yeah, we hope.
Yeah, I get that.
COVID related, we're hoping to do it National Indigenous Day, June 21st. There's a little parkette that's going to be on, what are we, the southeast corner of the bridge that we will put in an interpretation plaque. There's a plaque that has already gone on the bridge, of course, that is, it's just that ugly metal one that goes on all the bridges that talks about where the funding came from, the province, federal government, perhaps, who the ministers are. It's on every bridge. We're doing a more of an interpretive plaque that tells more of the story, and we'll do that with the help of local Indigenous groups that will help us write it, etc. And really looking forward to celebrating that step of the naming of the bridge and getting it dedicated and the ceremony that we'll have around that. It's something we've been looking forward to for a while. Good.
And keeping with the theme of traffic, I noticed in the operations committee meeting there was a proposal. Well, there were two proposals. The first was a traffic calming experiment on 6th Ave West around Blacks Park. But the other thing that is being proposed is to reduce the speed limit in school zones around the schools to 30 kilometers an hour. That's going to be an interesting change.
Just thinking a couple of things that came out of the operations meeting last night. One is the lighting connections on 10th Street. So traffic is flowing a lot better now that we've got 10th Street open because the lights are lined up. I forgot to cover that a second ago. We can also look at the stats and we know the number of cars that are turning left, that are turning right, etc. I think if I've got it right, Dennis told me the other day it was something like 27,000 cars that crossed 10th Street Bridge on Good Friday. So just to get that in. Yeah, we're looking at trying to slow traffic down in the neighborhood of schools a little bit to make it a little bit safer. We've got certain streets that are long, straight streets that we're trying to traffic calm. Your brain, when you're driving, when you've got a narrower street or trees or cars parked on it, you normally feel like you're going faster when it's more congested. And so you naturally slow down. where you have a little wider street that you can, with no impediments, no trees. A perfect example is going from the Bayshore Community Center going north to the Water Treatment Center. That can be like a speedway sometimes. So we want to be able to slow those down with some traffic calming mechanisms to try and slow people down, some things to make them think about it, because not everyone thinks that it's a raceway that I'm going to drive fast. They just naturally, the way the landscape comes at them, they don't think about it, and they look down and they're doing 70 kilometers in a 50, and that wasn't what they intended. So some little reminders and do some things to help people think about it and slow the traffic down a little bit. So it's some things we're working on.
It'll be interesting to see if they actually lower the speed limit up around East Hill School and around Georgian College. Because that's, first of all, that's a notorious speed trap. Shh, did I let out a town secret? But there is a fair amount of speeding that goes along there. But it's also a 4-lane street. It's an arterial roadway.
It's 4-lane. It's a county road. It's the hospital. It's all those things. So I think we're going to try some experiments somewhere else first. I know there is a list, and I don't remember the exact places that they were looking at, but they're gonna try and experiment first in a couple of places and see how it works.
Well, it will be interesting to see exactly what happens, because I know I live in one of those neighborhoods where the stop sign is actually, there's a long straight stretch, and the stop sign is used as sort of a, how shall I say, a starting line. And the squeal of tires, especially over in the middle of the night and early morning, is quite remarkable. But we'll see. It'll be an interesting thing to watch and watch out for. It's part of living in the city, I guess.
We're never going to make it perfect for everybody every time, right? There's always going to be people that are going to take this on as a challenge and see how they can get around it, go faster, make more noise, and we'll never figure that one out, I don't think.
And let's be honest, we were young and foolish too at one time. I know I certainly was. I was going to come back. We're almost at a time. We've got about 5 minutes left, Ian. I was going to come back to something that was actually, it's coming up at the DIA, but it's the whole downtown river district. And it's quite remarkable. If anyone is interested, it's there in the DI on the whole presentation on the downtown river district, not precinct, district, is quite remarkable. It's going to be a major change for the downtown core, sprucing it up and doing some things that they'll be make it quite attractive.
Well, the downtown improvement area has been around since late 70s, early 80s, and I think probably the DIA logo has been just about the same all the way through. It maybe has been changed once. So as the city has redone the river precinct on 8th Street to 9th Street along the river, and we'll do the next phase from 9th Street to 10th Street, trying to clean that up. The Downtown Improvement Area Board, or committee, I guess now, of council, is, they're still arm's length, so they're still an independent board. They're rebranding it to be the River District and remarket it. We've got something like 8 or 10 different art galleries, maker spaces, studios in the downtown core now. And there's some really neat things going on with, sound audio-visual studio going into the former Bank of Montreal, Hartwood Hall upstairs. Like there's so many things that are happening downtown as far as arts and culture. And so they're going to rebrand and re-promote and change the image of downtown and upgrade it. So they've been working on it for a long time. I saw one of the presentations. It looks pretty cool. I like what they've done.
Yes, it's if anyone is interested, it's certainly in the DIA meeting agenda, and it's worth taking a look at to see what the proposals are, because they are quite innovative on one hand, but also quite clear that this is the direction we need to be moving to bring people to that downtown area, and not just the sort of Second Ave core that we think of as downtown, going across to the west side, including the museum, the Tom, as well as other spaces. It looks quite attractive. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and even on the official plan we're looking at, well, I guess it's looking at a possible change, but basically we've been trying to get people living downtown. The Sydenham condominium, for example, the Ottawa CVI, Corbett Place across the bridge at 10th Street. Some of these different things, and there's lots of studies that show the more you have people living in downtown, and this goes back to the 70s with the tiny perfect mayor, whatever they called him, David Crombie in Toronto, where he started to bring residents back to downtown Toronto and get it safer. And so the more we can get people living downtown, supporting those businesses, the more the downtown can survive. And it's all part of that long-term plan. But one of the official plan things that we're looking at, I'm not sure it'll be written in there, but we'll look at seeing if there is, if we can even include more residential living downtown and make it approve more, even on-street housing, et cetera, as we move forward.
Yes, I think that whole concept is certainly very much the direction that urban design is heading towards, to make streets livable and communities downtown livable, and things like mixed housing and mixed uses, and we'll see how it plays out. It's kind of interesting because the downtown is, no matter what you think, it's always in flux. I noticed something on social media that finally the old Kornblum's menswear store is being renovated, and you, as someone who used to be in the haberdashery business yourself, or your family was, that's the kind of last vestige of that particular industry in this city. The awning is gone, so Kornblum's is finally laid to rest.
No, we used to have 8 menswears downtown, and I guess we're down to Shoppers. Clothing company for sure is still there, and I can't think of another. But the world has changed.
Yeah, and that's probably as good a note to leave things on as we can, Ian. The world has changed and is changing. Thank you so much for your time today. It's you covered some very important matters, and we wish you well in as things move forward. And let's not forget the 3 W's to wash our hands, wear a mask, and watch our distance.
And be patient and be respectful. Yeah, it's great. Thanks, David.
Thank you. And thank you, friends, for being a part of Politically Speaking. I'm David Shearman. We'll talk again.
Call the Rogers TV Viewer Response Line. Email us or connect with us on social media.
Don't forget to join us on Grey County Life at Home on Rogers.
You never know what kind of shenanigans we're going to be up to.
Now you can enjoy the Amazon Prime Video app on Ignite TV. Just say Amazon Prime Video